The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with the housing cost crisis bringing the heat in the East End food desert. 40 residents of the Shire spoke out against the lack of a grocery store in the Tercot Homes proposal on the abandoned Loblaws lot. Meanwhile, the mayor shouted "YIMBY, YIMBY, YIMBY" as he celebrated Canada Day with his strong mayor powers. Using his one-third minority power, he can now veto bylaws to accelerate his quantity-based solution to a pricing problem and a market failure. Can the East End food desert get a grocery store, and will the mayor destroy our democracy with his strong mayor powers? The housing cost crisis heated up this week with HelloSafe and Jessica Lawwell taking its temperature. HelloSafe, a finance and insurance website, used housing data from June to calculate affordability. They found that an average household income of $221,000 is needed to buy a home in the Shire, compared to $175,000 on Ontario average. According to this calculation, only sunshine listers can now afford to live here. Whereas Jessica Lowell at the Mercury Tribune took to Realtor.ca to measure housing affordability. She found the lowest priced listing in the Shire was a one-bedroom condo for $400,000. Luckily, her husband is a mortgage agent, so he could do the math. Factoring in property taxes and monthly maintenance fees, he estimated monthly cost for this property to be $2,395. This number is very familiar to renters in the Shire, since the average rent for one-bedroom apartments is now over $2,300. Meanwhile, in the East End food desert, 40 residents of the Shire stood up against the property developer orcs at Tercot Homes. The East End has grown into a food desert when Loblaws bailed on building a grocery store in the early 2000s. Loblaws planned to build a supercenter, but backed off after Walmart opened on Woodlawn and hired their tackle-happy security guard. Originating from the swamps of Toronto, Tercot Homes is wanting to build 2 Tower Saurons at 115 Watson Parkway North. Each building is proposed to have 2 towers between 6 to 10 stories tall, joined by a shared podium. But breaking the rule of the ward wasn't the main concern for the 40 residents at the meeting, since they needed to feed themselves first. "We need a grocery store, plain and simple," shouted a starving East Ender. "We don't want to have to drive across town for one," in reference to the lengthy drive across town to Costco land. With construction season in full force on Speedvale and Woolwich, it now takes double the time to get across town by car. Riding an e-scooter to Costco would be faster for the East Enders, but unfortunately the corporation of the Shire made a bylaw forbidding cargo on e-scooters. Back at the Council of Elders chambers, the mayor loaded up the last save file for his European-inspired SimCity. He watched the new $64 million library being built as he pondered what to do next with the $13.7 million surplus and his strong mayor powers. By sacrificing his title of biggest tool in town to Lloyd Longfields, the mayor was awarded with strong mayor powers from the Big Blue Orc. These powers allow him to veto bylaw changes with a one-third minority rule. The mayor got bored watching the roads break down in his city, so he opened his phone and started scrolling through social media. Whereas Lloyd announced that he'll be retiring in glory with the title of biggest tool in town. Like most politicians, the mayor started his social media blitz with virtue signaling. Wearing an oversized hat and holding the flag with his left hand, the mayor wished everyone Happy Canada Day as he shook his head side to side. Luckily, his tweet wasn't considered newsworthy, so it wasn't blocked by the lords of the Liberals' new Bill C-18. The mayor did get the news from Elon Musk about the Twitter's new daily read limit and used it to mess with the trolls. He started tweeting 600 posts a day, so that the trolls following him had their Twitter feeds blocked. The mayor enjoyed the brief moment of silence before a local superhero reappeared from the shadows. Similar to Steve the Spider-Man, Susan of Watson appears in the Shire to help those in need. To avoid getting blocked by Bill C-18, she wrote an open letter about the mayor's democracy-destroying strong powers. His camdad Twitter advice to stop worrying about legislation we have no control over is disingenuous, she wrote. Calling out the mayor and the creatures of the province for being puppets of the big blue orc, Watson used her elven eyes to focus on the democracy-destroying power of one-third minority rule. We need a commitment from Guthrie that he will never exercise his power, and that likewise, councillors would unite in unanimously voting against such a bylaw on principle. Whereas David Messer at the Smart Cities office finally ran out of money. The office was founded on $10 million from the World Economic Forum's Smart Cities Challenge. The office mission was to spend the $10 million to increase access to affordable food where waste becomes a resource. They targeted a net zero waste with a two-stage mandate. The first stage involved creating a circular economy matrix using a network of 50 businesses in the Shire, otherwise known as 50 by 50 by 50, by 2025. Once that was established, then they could implement the second stage with a carbon credit digital currency. The Smart City office will close its doors in December, 2 years earlier than the World Economic Forum had planned. They successfully completed the first stage of their plans with the circular economy matrix, but couldn't develop the real-time AI garbage sorting technology on the garbage trucks. They also failed at implementing the West carbon currency pilot this spring. The RFID tags are still in place on our garbage bins, but for now the ghost of Mondex Pass has defeated the West carbon credit digital currency. Can Carly of Classen and the Elder Elves fix the housing cost crisis? And will the mayor destroy our democracy with his strong mayor powers? Stay tuned here to see.